First story, by Emily Thompson. It was the summer of 2019, and I had decided to embark on a solo camping trip in the dense woods of the Pacific Northwest. I'd always found solace in the wilderness, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to disconnect from the chaos of everyday life. Little did I know, this trip would become a harrowing experience that still sends shivers down my spine. I set up camp near a tranquil river, surrounded by towering trees that cast eerie shadows in the moonlight. The first night was peaceful, with only the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl to keep me company. As I sat by the crackling fire, I noticed a flickering light in the distance. Curiosity getting the better of me, I grabbed my flashlight and ventured towards it. To my surprise, I stumbled upon a makeshift campsite with scattered belongings. Tents were torn, and backpacks lay open, as if someone had hastily abandoned the area. A chill ran down my spine as I realized I was not alone. The feeling of being watched intensified, and I quickly retraced my steps to my campsite. As the night progressed, I heard strange whispers carried by the wind. Unintelligible voices echoed through the trees, making my heart race. I dismissed it as my imagination, chalking it up to the isolation and the unfamiliar surroundings. However, the sense of unease lingered. The next morning, I decided to explore the area in daylight. I stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin hidden deep in the woods. It seemed abandoned for years, but something compelled me to enter. The creaking door opened to reveal an unsettling sight. Walls adorned with faded photographs of previous campers, their eyes scratched out with crude marks. I hurriedly left the cabin, my mind racing with thoughts of who could have defaced those pictures and why. That night, as I lay in my tent, I heard footsteps outside. Each crunch of leaves sent shivers down my spine. Too terrified to peek outside, I clutched my flashlight, hoping the light would keep whatever was out there at bay. Morning brought relief, but my unease persisted. I decided to cut my trip short and packed up my campsite. As I hiked back to civilization, I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. Every snap of a twig or distant rustle of leaves sent me into a panicked sprint. It wasn't until I reached the trailhead that I dared to glance back. There, standing among the trees, was a figure obscured by shadows. The faceless silhouette sent a final wave of terror through me, and I sprinted the rest of the way to my car, never looking back again. Second story, by Michael Harris. In the summer of 2020, my friends and I decided to embark on a camping trip in the remote mountains of Colorado. We were an adventurous group, seeking the thrill of the great outdoors. Little did we know, our expedition would take a dark turn that would forever etch the memory into our minds. Our campsite was situated near a serene alpine lake, surrounded by towering peaks that seemed to touch the sky. The first night was filled with laughter, as we huddled around the campfire, sharing stories and relishing the camaraderie. As the fire dwindled, and the forest embraced us in its nocturnal silence, a distant howl echoed through the valley. At first, we dismissed it as a coyote, but the howls persisted, growing closer with each passing minute. Anxiety crept into our group, and we decided to investigate, armed with flashlights and nervous laughter. The source of the howls eluded us, but an eerie feeling settled over the camp. The following day, we set out on a hike through the dense forest, hoping to shake off the unease from the previous night. As we ventured deeper, strange symbols painted on tree trunks caught our attention. They seemed ancient, invoking a sense of foreboding that intensified with every step. As dusk fell, a distant drumbeat echoed through the trees. We followed the rhythmic sound, stumbling upon a clearing where a group of hooded figures conducted a mysterious ritual. Fear froze us in place as we observed the unsettling scene. The air thickened with tension, and we retreated, vowing to leave the next morning. Nightfall brought a storm, the rain pounding on our tents like a relentless drum. Thunder echoed through the mountains, blending with the haunting drumbeat we had heard earlier. Sleep eluded us as the storm intensified, but the drumming persisted, growing louder and more frenetic. In the early hours of the morning, the storm subsided, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. As we emerged from our tents, the clearing was empty, with no trace of the hooded figures. An ominous feeling clung to the air, prompting us to break camp hastily and descend the mountain. The descent was treacherous, and the feeling of being watched haunted us every step of the way. When we finally reached the trailhead, we glanced back at the mountain, half expecting to see shadowy figures among the trees. Though none were visible, the memory of that eerie night would forever linger, a chilling reminder of the unknown that lurks in the depths of the wilderness. Third story, by Benjamin Carter. It was the fall of 2018 when I, along with a group of friends, decided to embark on a camping trip in the dense forests of the Black Forest in Germany. We were drawn to the mystical allure of the ancient woods, its towering pine trees creating a natural cathedral that seemed to whisper secrets of centuries past. Little did we know, those secrets held something far more sinister than we could have imagined. Our campsite was nestled in a clearing surrounded by ancient trees, their gnarled branches casting eerie shadows in the moonlight. The first night was filled with laughter and the crackling of the campfire. As we exchanged stories, a distant rustling in the underbrush caught our attention. We dismissed it as a wandering animal, but an uneasy feeling settled over the group. As the night deepened, strange symbols carved into the bark of nearby trees caught our attention. The symbols seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, their meaning lost to us. Unease crept into our group, but we chose to ignore the signs, chalking it up to local folklore. The following day, we decided to explore deeper into the forest, guided by an ancient map we had acquired from a local historian. The map led us to a long-forgotten burial site, its moss-covered stones standing as silent sentinels to a bygone era. As we paid our respects, a sudden fog enveloped the clearing, obscuring our surroundings. In the disorienting mist, we heard the distant sound of footsteps, echoing in a rhythmic pattern. Panic set in as we realized we were not alone. Shadows moved in the fog, and indistinct whispers filled the air. The symbols from the previous night seemed to reappear, etched into the mist itself. Terrified, we stumbled through the fog, each step leading us deeper into an unknown realm. The air became charged with an unsettling energy, and we felt as if we had stepped into a realm between worlds. Shapes moved at the edge of our vision, and the forest seemed to come alive with unseen entities. Suddenly, the fog lifted, and we found ourselves back at our campsite. The symbols on the trees had vanished, leaving us bewildered and shaken. With a sense of urgency, we packed up our camp, eager to escape the ancient woods that held secrets beyond our understanding. As we emerged from the Black Forest, the air felt lighter, but the memory of that eerie fog lingered. We never spoke of the inexplicable events that transpired, but the unspoken agreement among us was clear. Some places are best left undisturbed, their mysteries forever shrouded in the veil of the unknown. Fourth story, by Jessica Rodriguez. In the summer of 2017, I decided to join a group of adventure enthusiasts for a solo camping trip in the remote wilderness of Montana. The vast expanse of untouched nature seemed like the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. Little did I know, the isolation would unveil a series of chilling events that would test the limits of my sanity. Our campsite was nestled beside a crystal-clear lake, surrounded by dense pine forests that stretched as far as the eye could see. The first night was tranquil, with the soothing sounds of rustling leaves and distant wildlife. As darkness fell, I sat by the fire, enjoying the solitude. That's when I noticed a faint glow in the distance. Intrigued, I grabbed my flashlight and followed the ethereal light through the trees. As I approached, I stumbled upon an old, abandoned cabin. Its windows were shattered, and the door creaked open with an eerie invitation. Hesitant but curious, I stepped inside. The interior was frozen in time, as if the occupants had vanished without a trace. Faded wallpaper peeled from the walls, revealing a glimpse into a forgotten era. As I explored, a chilling wind whispered through the broken windows, carrying with it the distant sound of a woman sobbing. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end as I struggled to locate the source. As the night deepened, the sobbing persisted, growing louder and more desperate. Fear clutched at my heart as I rushed out of the cabin, only to find the glow I had followed had disappeared. The forest was cloaked in darkness, and an unsettling feeling of being watched settled over me. Determined to shake off the unease, I returned to my campsite. The sobbing continued throughout the night, echoing through the trees. Sleep eluded me as I lay in my tent, the sound haunting my every thought. The next morning, I shared my experience with the group, hoping they would dismiss it as a figment of my imagination. To my surprise, one of the seasoned campers revealed that the area was rumored to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who had disappeared decades ago. Legend had it that she wept for her lost love, luring unsuspecting wanderers into the depths of the forest. As the group discussed the legend, an eerie fog rolled in, obscuring our surroundings. The temperature dropped, and the air became charged with an otherworldly energy. Panic set in as the sobbing echoed once more, closer than before. In a state of terror, we packed up our camp, desperate to escape the haunting presence. The fog seemed to cling to us, thickening with each step we took. Shadows danced at the edge of our vision, and the sobbing became a haunting chorus that seemed to follow us through the forest. It wasn't until we reached the edge of the wilderness that the fog lifted, and the sobbing faded into the distance. The group exchanged uneasy glances, silently agreeing never to return to that haunted corner of Montana. Fifth Story, by Jonathan Bennett. In the spring of 2021, a group of friends and I decided to embark on a camping adventure in the dense woodlands of Vermont. The towering maple and pine trees painted a picturesque scene, but the tranquility of the forest masked the terrors that awaited us. Our campsite was perched on the edge of a serene lake, surrounded by lush greenery. The first night passed without incident, and we reveled in the camaraderie of friendship. As the fire crackled, we shared stories and laughter, unaware of the ominous events that would unfold. On the second night, a distant sound pierced the silence, a rhythmic drumming that echoed through the forest. Intrigued, we followed the sound, guided by the hypnotic beat. The drumming led us to a clearing where a group of locals, clad in tattered clothing, engaged in an unsettling dance around a flickering fire. Unease settled over us as we observed the primal ritual. The dancers moved with an almost unnatural fluidity, their eyes glazed over with an intensity that sent shivers down our spines. The drumming intensified, and the air pulsated with an otherworldly energy. As we attempted to retreat unnoticed, a figure emerged from the shadows, a hooded elder with piercing eyes that seemed to see into our very souls. He beckoned us to join the dance, his voice a low, guttural chant that resonated with an ancient power. Fear gripped us, and we fled back to our campsite. That night, the drumming persisted, the rhythmic beats seeping into our dreams. Disturbed, we awoke to find strange symbols etched into the bark of the surrounding trees, symbols that seemed to hum with an otherworldly force. Determined to leave, we packed our belongings at dawn. The forest, however, seemed to resist our departure. The trail twisted and turned, leading us in circles as if the very landscape sought to confound us. The drumming continued, a relentless soundtrack to our growing unease. As we pressed on, we stumbled upon an ancient altar, adorned with decaying offerings and surrounded by the same symbols we had seen earlier. It became clear that we had trespassed into a sacred space, and the forest itself sought retribution. Nightfall brought a chilling mist that clung to us like a malevolent force. Shapes moved in the fog, and the drumming reached a fevered pitch. The forest seemed to come alive, its unseen inhabitants closing in on us with every step. In a final act of desperation, we burst through the thick vegetation and emerged onto a desolate road. The drumming faded, and the mist dissipated, leaving us breathless and disoriented. It took hours to find our way back to civilization, and even then, the forest seemed to linger in the corners of our minds. To this day, we cannot shake the feeling that the ancient woods of Vermont are haunted by forces beyond our understanding. The memory of that ominous drumming and the unsettling dance in the moonlit clearing serves as a haunting reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their mysteries veiled in the shadows of the unknown. Sixth Story, by Olivia Simmons. It was the autumn of 2016 when my curiosity led me to venture into the dense forests of Oregon for a solo camping experience. The vibrant fall foliage painted the landscape in hues of red and gold, creating a breathtaking tapestry that beckoned me deeper into the wilderness. Little did I know, the beauty of the surroundings masked a series of events that would leave me questioning the very fabric of reality. My chosen campsite was nestled between ancient trees, their gnarled branches reaching skyward like ancient sentinels. The first night passed without incident, and I reveled in the solitude. As darkness fell, a symphony of nocturnal sounds enveloped the forest. The hooting of owls, the rustling of leaves, and the distant murmur of a creek. However, beneath these familiar sounds, there lingered a disquieting undercurrent. On the second night, as I stoked the campfire, I heard a peculiar melody carried by the wind. It was a haunting tune, played on an otherworldly instrument. Drawn by the music, I followed the sound through the maze of trees. The melody led me to a secluded glade, bathed in an ethereal light. There, beneath the moonlit canopy, a solitary figure played a violin with an expertise that transcended human capability. The violinist, a woman with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages, acknowledged my presence with a nod. Mesmerized, I watched as shadows danced around her, moving in synchrony with the haunting music. The air crackled with an unspoken energy, and I felt like a silent witness to a ritual that defied explanation. As the last note echoed through the glade, the woman turned to me, her gaze piercing through the darkness. Without a word, she beckoned for me to follow. Fear and fascination warred within me, but curiosity prevailed, and I trailed behind her through the ancient forest. We arrived at an ancient stone circle, adorned with intricate symbols that seemed to pulse with a mystical energy. The woman spoke in a language unknown to me, her words resonating with a power that stirred the very essence of my being. The stones began to emit a soft glow, casting an otherworldly light that bathed the clearing. In the midst of this surreal experience, I became acutely aware of a presence beyond the visible spectrum. Whispers echoed through the trees, as if the very essence of the forest had come alive. I felt the gaze of unseen eyes upon me, and the line between reality and the mystical blurred. The woman, her eyes now aglow with an otherworldly light, spoke of ancient pacts between nature and those who dared to enter its sacred realms. She warned of the consequences of disturbing the delicate balance that existed between the seen and the unseen. The forest, she claimed, was a sentient entity, and its secrets were not meant for mortal understanding. Terrified yet entranced, I stumbled back to my campsite as dawn approached. The forest seemed to release its hold on me, and the stone circle disappeared into the daylight. The strange melodies ceased, leaving only the rustling of leaves and the familiar sounds of the wilderness. As I packed my belongings, I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest had revealed only a fraction of its mysteries. The ancient pact weighed heavy on my mind, a silent reminder that the natural world held secrets beyond the grasp of human comprehension. Seventh Story, by Christopher Reynolds. The summer of 2022 brought me and my friends to the remote mountains of Wyoming for what was supposed to be a thrilling camping adventure. The vast landscapes and towering peaks promised an unforgettable experience, but what awaited us in the heart of the wilderness would test the limits of our endurance and sanity. Our chosen campsite was nestled beside a pristine alpine lake, surrounded by snow-capped peaks that loomed over us like guardians of an ancient realm. The first night was filled with laughter and the crackling of the campfire, but as darkness descended, an oppressive stillness settled over the mountains. It was as if the very air held its breath in anticipation. On the second night, a series of strange occurrences began. Unsettling shadows moved at the periphery of our vision, and the distant echoes of laughter wafted through the crisp mountain air. We dismissed it as the playful tricks of the wilderness, attributing the laughter to the wind or the distant calls of nocturnal animals. As we gathered around the campfire, a sudden chill swept through the air. The flames flickered and dimmed, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance with a malevolent energy. The laughter, now more pronounced, echoed through the mountainous terrain, sending shivers down our spines. Determined to dispel the unease, we decided to take a midnight hike into the surrounding forest. Armed with flashlights, we ventured into the labyrinthine trails that wound through the ancient trees. The laughter persisted, growing louder with each step. Suddenly, the forest fell silent. The oppressive stillness returned, and the air seemed to thicken. It was then that we stumbled upon an old, dilapidated cabin hidden deep in the woods. The structure appeared abandoned, but a faint light emanated from within. Hesitant but curious, we pushed open the creaking door. The interior was frozen in time, with remnants of a bygone era scattered across the floor. Dust-covered furniture and faded photographs hinted at a family that once called the cabin home. As we explored, the laughter returned, echoing through the desolate rooms. In one corner, we discovered a collection of weathered journals. The entries spoke of strange happenings in the forest, of shadows that danced in the moonlight and laughter that haunted the depths of the woods. The more we read, the more we realized that the cabin's previous inhabitants had experienced the same eerie phenomena that now enveloped us. As we exited the cabin, the laughter reached a deafening crescendo. Shadows coalesced around us, swirling with an otherworldly malevolence. Panic set in, and we fled back to our campsite, the haunting laughter pursuing us through the trees. Throughout the night, the laughter echoed, mingling with the howling wind and the distant cries of unseen creatures. Sleep eluded us, and as dawn broke, we packed up our camp with a sense of urgency. The forest, it seemed, held secrets that defied explanation, and the laughter lingered in the recesses of our minds long after we left the Wyoming wilderness. Eighth Story, by Isabella Martinez. In the crisp autumn of 2019, my group of friends and I embarked on a camping trip to the sprawling forests of New Hampshire. The vibrant fall foliage created a breathtaking panorama that seemed straight out of a postcard. Little did we know, the picturesque setting would soon transform into the backdrop for a series of chilling events that would forever haunt our memories. Our chosen campsite was nestled beside a tranquil river, surrounded by dense woods that whispered with the secrets of centuries past. The first night passed without incident, and we reveled in the warmth of the campfire, the crackling flames casting a flickering light on our faces. As the night deepened, we retired to our tents, oblivious to the unfolding mysteries that awaited. On the second night, a strange mist rolled in, shrouding the forest in an eerie haze. The air became charged with an otherworldly energy, and a distant, mournful howl echoed through the trees. Unnerved but curious, we decided to explore the mist-shrouded woods, armed with flashlights and a sense of trepidation. As we ventured deeper, the mist thickened, obscuring our surroundings. Shadows danced at the edge of our vision, and the howling seemed to surround us, creating a disorienting symphony of haunting sounds. It was then that we stumbled upon an ancient burial ground, the weathered gravestones standing as silent witnesses to the passage of time. As we explored the cemetery, the mist took on a life of its own, swirling and coalescing into ghostly figures that seemed to move with a purpose. The air grew colder, and an oppressive weight settled over us. A voice, laden with sorrow, whispered through the mist, recounting tales of lives cut short and restless spirits that wandered the woods. Fear clutched at our hearts, but an unseen force compelled us to continue. The mist guided us to the edge of a dark pond, its still waters reflecting the twisted branches of ancient trees. An unsettling feeling of being watched permeated the air, and we saw faint ripples on the pond's surface, as if unseen eyes were observing our every move. As we stood on the pond's edge, the mist coalesced into a spectral figure, a woman cloaked in tattered garments, her eyes reflecting a sorrowful history. She spoke of a tragedy that had befallen her in centuries past, a tale of lost love and a life cut short. The mist absorbed her words, carrying them through the woods like a mournful melody. Haunted by the encounter, we stumbled back to our campsite. The mist dissipated, and the howling ceased, leaving us in a state of bewilderment. The forest, it seemed, held the echoes of past lives, and the mist was a conduit to a realm where time folded upon itself. As we packed up our campsite the next morning, the woods appeared unchanged, the vibrant fall foliage masking the spectral events that had transpired. Yet the memory of the mist-shrouded encounter lingered, a testament to the thin veil that separates the seen from the unseen in the ancient forests of New Hampshire. Ninth Story, by Ethan Turner. In the sweltering summer of 2020, my friends and I decided to embark on a camping expedition in the rugged wilderness of Colorado. Our campsite was nestled near the base of towering cliffs, surrounded by dense pine forests that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. The clear mountain air and the promise of adventure filled our hearts with excitement, but little did we know that the mountains held secrets that would challenge our understanding of reality. The first night was calm, with the soothing sound of a nearby stream and the flickering glow of the campfire creating a serene atmosphere. As we sat around, swapping stories and roasting marshmallows, a distant rumbling echoed through the mountains. Initially dismissing it as a trick of the wind, the sound grew louder and more distinct, resembling a chorus of whispers that danced on the edge of perception. As night fell, we heard the rustling of leaves and the snapping of twigs, as if an unseen presence lurked in the shadows. Unsettled but determined to enjoy our camping experience, we laughed off the unease and retired to our tents. However, sleep eluded us as the whispers persisted, growing in intensity and weaving a disconcerting tapestry of sound that seemed to emanate from the very rocks that surrounded us. Curiosity overcoming fear, we decided to explore the cliffs the following day. The hike was arduous, but the promise of breathtaking views and the hope of dispelling the ominous whispers propelled us forward. As we ascended, the air grew thin, and the landscape transformed into a surreal panorama of jagged rocks and twisted pine trees. Upon reaching the summit, we were greeted by an awe-inspiring view of the surrounding mountains. Yet, the whispers persisted, carried by the wind that whistled through the rock formations. In the midst of the otherworldly beauty, we discovered a series of ancient petroglyphs etched into the cliffside. The symbols seemed to tell a story lost to time, a narrative that resonated with the haunting whispers that surrounded us. That night, as we gathered around the campfire, the whispers reached a crescendo. The symbols on the cliffs seemed to come alive, their ancient stories manifesting in the ethereal voices that reverberated through the mountains. Fear clenched at our hearts, and the very air seemed to vibrate with an energy that transcended the natural world. As the night wore on, the whispers took on a more ominous tone, weaving tales of forgotten civilizations and spirits condemned to wander the mountains for eternity. Shadows danced around our campsite, and we felt the gaze of unseen entities fixated on our every move. In a desperate attempt to escape the oppressive atmosphere, we packed up our camp and descended the cliffs in the dead of night. The whispers followed us, echoing through the valleys and canyons as we made our way back to civilization. Even as we reached the safety of our homes, the haunting voices lingered in our minds, a reminder that the mountains held secrets that defied explanation. To this day, the memory of that eerie camping trip serves as a chilling testament to the thin veil between the natural and the supernatural in the heart of the Colorado wilderness. Tent Story by Amelia Carter. In the early spring of 2018, a group of friends and I embarked on a camping adventure in the heart of the Black Forest in Germany. The dense canopy of ancient trees, coupled with the rich folklore that shrouded the region, promised an experience steeped in mystery. Little did we know that the shadows of the past would weave a chilling narrative, blurring the lines between reality and the supernatural. Our chosen campsite was nestled near an ancient ruin, its moss-covered stones standing as silent sentinels to a bygone era. The first night was filled with excitement and laughter, as we set up our tents beneath the towering trees. As the fire crackled, casting dancing shadows on the ruins, a distant howl echoed through the forest, chilling us to the bone. As night fell, strange symbols etched into the bark of nearby trees caught our attention. They seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy, their meaning lost to us. Despite the ominous atmosphere, we dismissed the symbols as mere remnants of local folklore and delved into the warmth of our tents. The second night brought an unrelenting storm, the rain pounding on our tents like a relentless drum. Thunder echoed through the forest, blending with the haunting howls that seemed to resonate from the ancient ruins. Sleep was elusive, and a sense of foreboding settled over our campsite. In the early hours of the morning, the storm subsided, leaving a thick fog that clung to the forest like a spectral veil. As we emerged from our tents, the ruins loomed before us, obscured by the mist. Strange whispers carried through the fog, unintelligible yet laden with a weight that stirred the very core of our beings. Determined to uncover the source of the whispers, we ventured toward the ruins. The fog thickened, distorting our surroundings and creating a disorienting maze. Shadows moved at the periphery of our vision, and the ruins seemed to shift and warp with every step. As we reached the heart of the ancient structure, a sudden silence fell over the forest. The ruins appeared to come alive, the stones pulsating with an unnatural energy. Symbols glowed with an ethereal light, casting an eerie glow in the mist. It was then that we heard the faint echo of footsteps, a rhythmic sound that seemed to emanate from within the ruins. Fear gripped us as we followed the ghostly trail. The ruins transformed into a labyrinth, twisting and turning in ways that defied the laws of architecture. In the heart of the labyrinth, we stumbled upon an underground chamber, its entrance hidden in plain sight. The air within was heavy with an otherworldly presence, and the whispers reached a fevered pitch. Shadows danced on the walls, forming indistinct figures that seemed to tell a story lost to time. As we delved deeper, the symbols on the walls seemed to react to our presence. The air crackled with energy, and the very fabric of reality seemed to warp. It was then that we realized we had entered a realm that transcended the natural world, a place where the past and present coexisted in an intricate dance. Terrified and awestruck, we retraced our steps through the labyrinth, emerging from the ruins into the misty forest. The fog lifted, and the ruins appeared ancient and lifeless once more. The whispers faded, leaving us standing in the silence of the black forest. As we made our way back to civilization, the memory of that surreal night lingered, a testament to the inexplicable mysteries that lay hidden within the ancient woods. The Black Forest had revealed itself as a realm where the echoes of the past intertwined with the present, leaving an indelible mark on our collective consciousness. Thank you for watching whole video. Check this video you see on the screen, it's one of my favorite. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash that like to support my free and daily content for you. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment and tell me what story got you chills.